From Porcio, TopVelocity.net, you're going to do a pitch analysis here of Nolan on the right. You're going to pair him up with Stephen Lacey. Take them both out of their leg lifts. Okay. You can see Nolan quickly kind of like slide steps down into his load position. You see Stephen moving forward and down at the same rate. So we talk about how important it is to build momentum forward and down at the same rate as opposed to straight down. Because what it does is, yeah, we get to a loaded drive leg position here, ankle, knee, and hip flexor, but we don't get a linear force vector, which is critical. So this would be like loading your gun but not aiming it. This would be doing both. Because we need this force vector, the shin, to move linear, so when you initiate the drive or the shear forces off the back of the rubber, it accelerates all that energy forward. In a position like this, Nolan's going to have to just turn over or maybe even collapse the leg before he has time to really get it in line. Because from here, he has to start pushing to move forward. If you move forward and down the same rate, you're just falling to that position. Because once you start pushing, you can't stop. So you're going to go as far as you can, and then more than likely, it's just going to turn over. Because if forces really peak with the force vector up, he's just going to want to jump, so he's not going to do that. So let's see what he does. You can see he has some momentum forward, but here comes that leg doing its best to push. So it gets some extension to about here, and then it just turns over. So we see that heel popping up, which is a good indication there's just a lot of rotational movements in that back leg at this point. Okay. You see Lacey here already linear with where he can peak his momentum now, and that's where the back leg really does its best, is when it's not driving to create your momentum, it's driving to peak your momentum. And you can see that here. And you can see, watch his heel. You don't see it popping up. You see it staying down into extension and then rotation. Okay, so you're getting a lot more hip to shoulder separation here at front foot strike from Lacey. You're seeing the hips pretty much almost open, shoulders extremely close. A lot of hip to shoulder separation between hip to shoulder position. If we look at Nolan here as he lands, I mean, it's hard to see with the pants, but see, that would be an open hip position. So you can see when he lands, he's in a very closed hip position with the closed shoulder position. So not much hip to shoulder separation. I mean, with Stephen, you can see a lot of coiling here, even in his shirt or in his core. You're not seeing that. Everything just squared up from Nolan here. So you have a lot more energy to transfer with Stephen. That's why you really see this dynamic trunk. You see with Nolan, he does a good job of laying his glove down and pushing his trunk forward, and he has a really good front leg. So he does start to get more dynamic here with his front leg, even more than Stephen. But the problem is he doesn't have all this momentum. And you can even see the cameras blurring out. That's how much faster Stephen's moving forward because of all that momentum down the mountain. So then into pitch release, you see a real explosive release. You see, he has stabilized his front leg, not full extension. You do see full extension, almost hyperextension here. But it really goes back to that initial momentum and peaking that momentum into optimal hip to shoulder separation. You don't have that kind of energy that Stephen's built up. And this pitch is 96, and Stephen's 235 is more than likely a good 50 pounds heavier. So, Nolan, this is what you have to work to be. You have to work to get more momentum, peak your momentum, optimize hip to shoulder separation, is explosive to Stephen if you really want to make big jumps in your velocity.